Welcome, Reimar. Great to see you as always.
Yo, what's up, everyone? How are you? Happy New Year. Let's do this. I'm excited about today.
Oh, it's going to be a great one. I mean, I can't believe just how many people are RSVPing, how many people are so excited. We saw over 200 people, minutes.
It climbed to
before
500. There's 500 people already sitting on YouTube. It's like we haven't even started the stream yet.
Yeah, it's incredible. Hello, everybody. South Africa, Calgary, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Seeing everyone kind of come in through here. I know Dave Cespedes is also joining us as well. Cognito Coding. We had a great call last week. It was so great to talk to you about the ambassador program. But yeah, what an amazing crew out here.
Just grabbing my popcorn and coffee. I love that. Yeah, so we got a heck of an episode in store. There's an action-packed episode. Do you want to give us a quick little community rundown real quick of what's going on, and then we'll jump right into the build?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. It's been such an incredible 2025, and we're gearing up for just I don't know, an action-packed 2026. There's so much going on here very, very soon. And a couple of things I wanted to kind of talk about that we talked last year. So number one thing is there's a little bit more information on the community program. So I'll be dropping that in the link below. Already we have over 100 folks from around the world who are very interested. So currently it's invitation only, but we'll be opening up applications probably in February of this year, if not a little bit later. But if you're interested, sign up, and then we'll definitely be like first on the list when it's reviewing applications. Next is there's just going to be a lot more opportunities to get involved. Obviously, there's the ambassador program. These live stream builds are something that Reimar has kind of just cooked up, and we've just seen so much more interest around than we expected. So I think there's going to be a lot more just different ways to be able to interact with the Replit team. And just build alongside with us and meet a lot of like kind of your fellow builders, even not just online, but locally as well. So a lot more like programming and content for the community is coming very, very soon. The team is growing, and we're just so grateful to kind of have everyone on board. And last but not least, a lot more just features coming up very soon. There's like so much coming up. I am so excited to talk about, but I will hold off. Even this week, we're going to have another a live stream on Friday, talk a little bit about some things that are coming around the pipeline. And just overall, I'm so excited for just 2026. And let us know what you're building in the chat. Let us know where you're coming out from. We'll be checking out all the chats. For anyone that was with us, in the past couple of sessions, one of the things we try to really emphasize is that we're always, taking in feedback. So drop in your feedback, drop in your, what you're working on, what you're building, and also what you'd like to see. All of these comments are checked out. And as Reimar kind of did a live build recently, we literally kind of collect all the information, all of your suggestions, and send it to our team for feedback. And a lot of that feedback kind of shows up in our features in our actual releases. So please let us know what you're looking for. I will be in the chat reading through them, dropping in some resources about the community program and everything else in between. But with that, I'll pass it back over to Reimar. So excited to have him out here.
Let's go. What's up? We're about to cross 1,000 on the stream. This is unreal. It's super excited to see all these people that are just amped up to build in Replit. Maybe you've got all these ideas that you've thought about browser extensions or what you might want to build. And part of these live streams are just kind of showing you how do we do that? How do we get into the mix? let's not forget Manny in the background. We're gonna impromptu drop in on him. He's also gonna be checking comments and joining us in the conversation later. So we're gonna build a cool cadence around these things. We're getting excited about the energy that y'all bring to this, so that gets us excited, and so then we want to put more into the streams. And so I think you're gonna see a lot of this kind of ramp up as we go here. But let's just jump into the mix, I guess. I'm going to try to keep up. Y'all can flag comments in the back that we need to bring up. I'm seeing we're going to have to add to that comment scanning app the ability to see like where the most people are coming from. Maybe it can like recognize city names in the comments and start creating us like a graph of like where people are at and showing like what cities are in. Because I'm seeing all over the world here, and that would be super cool to kind of plot on a globe or something like where all the comments are coming from. So maybe we're going to bake that into the cake, and we can build some of that live too. So. Manny, what's do you want to say hey real quick? I know it's been a while. We're like itching to say hi to the audience. So happy New Year. You want to say hi real quick?
I know. Hey everybody, great to see you. Love to see how many people have RSVP'd and how many people are here on the chat. I know I've gotten a couple of comments from folks on socials about eager to get back into building. I think over the break people were on the socials and everybody's talking about vibe coding and how big of a deal vibe coding is in 2026, and it feels like a watershed moment. Agent came out like maybe a year ago, and over the course of time I think it was really mostly for early adopters picking it up and finding out what you can do with it. Me, Rymar, other folks just like saying like, oh my gosh, this is the future, so excited about this. And it feels like over the last month or so, like it's going more mainstream. And so I think people are just like eager to find out what they can do with a tool like Replit, what they can build, and eager to build their own tools and Chrome extensions and apps and all that good stuff. So, as I was seeing the tick up on RSVPs, I'm just like, people are eager to build in 2026. And so this is like a great stream for folks that are looking to get started. We over the break, we saw a post from Amjad around vibe coding with Shaq. And I was thinking like, oh my gosh, like vibe coding is going mainstream when you have Shaq vibe coding his own apps and kissing Amjad on the head, saying like, "Oh, this is amazing." Like, I feel like we're like pushing into another level of awareness for vibe coding for a lot more people, and so I'm just excited to introduce vibe coding to a new group of folks, and just eager to see what they build.
Right on. Okay, with that, let's go and jump right in. So I'm going to start in this shot, and there's Actually, I lied. We're going to do one more thing. This is a little surprise. One more thing before we get started. I saw some folks in the comments asking about, hey, where are the resources from previous streams? What are we building next? Like where do I get the remix links, before or after the stripe? And so sometimes, those will always go out in emails, but maybe the email gets buried or something. And so we wanted to build a little something. I've been wanting to build since we started this, a place where you all can get involved and tell us like, what would you like to see us build next? Because we want to build the things that matter to you. And so what we have here is a little portal. And what you'll see is right up front is the session for today. Right, so we're going to build a private bookmark manager and browser extension. What you're going to see inside of here is the opening prompt itself, right? And so this is going to be available ahead of time and through the show, as well as tasks. And this is a cool Kanban board that we've built that allows me to kind of track tasks related to each project and for you all to submit projects. So let's say you wanted to go and see what we built in previous episodes. And this is not just for every live stream. This is for the projects where we get technical and kind of get into the weeds, because there's usually resources and links and things involved with that aren't always easily available for everyone. And so what we have here is the, again, these project list. You'll see that this project has been completed, but that doesn't mean that there might not be tasks, or we might not bring something back out of the archive and build on it again or something like that. And so this is just like a project management tool that we've built specifically for managing these live builds that allows you all to tinker and get the access to the resources you want. And for some reason I had it ready to send, but I don't know if it's sent. Could somebody send that link? It's livebuild.replit.app. If anybody wants to check it out, you can log in with Replit, you can suggest things for us to build, and then you can get all the resources to future builds, as well as this build, which we're going to jump into right now. So let us know. Again, we want to build the stuff that matters to you all. So all right, with that, let's go full screen here. Let's open a Replit window, and we're going to look at what we got. So I have an opening prompt here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this prompt into Replit, and then I'm going to let the agent work. And then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about how I got to this prompt, what a browser extension is, and maybe answer some questions as it's working. Just so everyone knows, we do have a build about, let's see, about an hour ago. I sent the exact same prompt we're going to send in now into Replit as well. And so we can kind of have a look and see, what are the difference in the outcomes that we get and kind of what we're working on. But let's do this. And here's how I typically work when I create a prompt. I have a full prompt here, right? So I'm going to grab this full prompt text. Let me just copy this. I do have a one-click copy. Cancel. Oh, hang on. Let me reauthorize myself. Not sure what's happening here. Okay. Let me grab this prompt again. Sorry. Copy. Okay, cool. And what we have here are some, requirements, some MVP requirements, the final deliverable. I'm going to go ahead and paste this into the to the Replit board here. And what you see, that's going to drop it in as a pasted document, as a markdown doc, as a TXT file. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab my context prompt. And I could probably drop this all into one prompt, but I kind of like to just do it like this separately, because now I'm going to paste a second one, and you're going to see this text is going to go in. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm explaining to the agent core instructions. This is the shorter, tighter prompt. And then this pasted prompt is where all the details are. That's a little more structure. And then I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to give this thing a couple files, because I've created a few files. And I'm going to explain why you need that when we talk about the browser extension. But basically, a browser extension kind of has a requirement to have a few icon files. And so I wanted to give that to the agent ahead of time. This isn't something you have to do. The agent will try to build this for you, and you could do this after. But I just kind of wanted to package this all up. I'm going to hit start here. And then I want to talk a little bit about what a browser extension is and kind of how I got to this original prompt. So let's go look at what we have here. It says, I want you to read your attached documentation and come up with a plan to build out a modern web application and browser extension called Market, MMRKit, and 2 M's because it's Rhymar that's building it. The app and extension should be very lightweight, super easy to use, following best practices for Manifest 3. We'll talk about what that is here in a second. Chrome extensions, and making sure that our auth and UI components are simple and easy to reuse across both web and the extension. Then I gave it some colors and told it to use the provided icons. And here's where we get into it, right? I'm giving a clear goal to this agent, right? And explaining what a bookmark is, plus a bookmark is a URL plus user-written notes and tags. The app will later integrate with a browser extension sidebar, so design the app with a clean authentication API and extension call. And make sure the decisions revolve around the web app and extension working seamlessly. So here I'm just giving the context and the structure of what I want from the agent, okay? And then I give it a user story. Right? And a user story is a way to kind of articulate the requirements of your project in a way that a user would actually walk through it. So a feature is like, hey, I can press this button and the app does something. But a user story is typically like a little more detailed, right? So as a logged in user, I can quickly save a URL. I'm telling it what I can do with the URL. I'm not giving it any... Go ahead.
Hey, Rymar, sorry to interrupt. We're just getting a bunch of comments that the screen is a little bit...
Oh, sorry.
That screen?
It's a little blurry?
Well, I think the blurry, I don't think you can do too much about the blurriness, but at least maybe go bigger on that screen and maybe zoom in a little bit so people can see the prompt and see your follow along. Sorry to interrupt. We're seeing a ton of comments here.
Yeah, my bad. I was on the wrong screen share shot. I think I had it on the highlighted one for my opening, and I didn't switch over. So thank you for that. I know nobody's trying to look at me for an hour. Okay. So primary user story, and then I give it the information architecture. So again, the information architecture is kind of the structure of the database of the information that we're going to store, right? And so we have a user here, we have bookmarks, we have tags, and I've kind of outlined what each of those are, what I want to grab, right? So we're going to have an ID, who the owner is, the URL, which is the bookmark, the title of the thing, et cetera, et cetera. And then some MVP requirements. And before we get too deep into this, let's go see what the agent is doing here. So, and let me put this one over here because this is the one that's already done, and this is the one that it's building now. And so you see, I've reviewed the documentation and code base. It's a bookmark management app with a Chrome extension. Let me zoom in a little bit to the agent here too. Let's see. I'll add Replit auth and Postgres. I'll set up authentication and database. And so what it's doing, it's going through all the different steps. It's created a 4-step plan up here. So build all websites and features design, create backend features and data storage, build a browser extension and data sync, and then connect features and test everything. And so what you're going to see is that, and I'll talk a little bit about the browser extension here in a second, is that the browser extension is something you could probably add to almost any application, right? A browser extension, let's look at this. A browser extension is just a small piece of software that sits inside of the browser and kind of runs in parallel with whatever tab you have open, right? And so, for instance, right here, we have this chat capture app. If I were to go into this Restream chat capture, I can't actually open it up. Okay, I won't actually show that. But most of you all know what an extension is, right? And so it just kind of sits over top or next to or inside of the application. There doesn't even have to be a UI for a browser extension. And the browser extension can see, change, or react to what's happening in the browser. It has full access to everything that's happening inside the browser. And it's a little more natively connected to everything that's happening on the back end of the website. So it can see all the network requests. It can see all your clicks, all your interactions. It's one of the reasons why it's a little bit different from a website, but it's also very like privacy. There's a lot of privacy concerns, and lots of people have kind of abused browser extensions in the past because you're giving them a lot of permission. You're giving the user access to or you're giving me as a browser extension creator access to everything you're doing in the browser. And so here's what makes it a little different, right? So it can do all sorts of things. It can add buttons. It can modify how the websites work. It can run logic in the background. But an extension can kind of always be running in the background regardless of what page you're on, right? And so a website only opens and runs when you're on the page and kind of only interact with it. And you're typically you open it up, it loads, it does the thing. The browser extension, either you typically have to trigger it, or it's just running all the time in the background, or it's listening for browser level events. For instance, if this happens, then something else should happen, again, even in the background, right? And so there's a little bit of configuration that kind of tells, and we'll look at this when we look at the output of the agent here. What the extension does, what permissions it needs, what files it uses. Manifest is just kind of like an outline of the core structure of the browser extension. Again, the UI for an extension can be optional. It can be baked into the page. You could create things that, like when you right click, it adds things to this context menu. It could add popovers, for your site. And what we're going to see today is we've created a side panel extension that's going to open up next to the page that allows us to navigate and keep the extension open while we kind of explore the app. And then we talked a little bit about this. So what you need to think about is permissions. Extensions must ask for the specific access they need. And that happens inside the manifest file, right? And so inside this manifest file, we're going to go in here and look at in a second. I know we don't dive into the code, but we're going to look at a little bit of code today. This is where it gets difficult because, as you change these permissions or as you get people to upload or install an extension, there's security concerns. People are a little hesitant to do that. There's issues around, again, security and trust. They can slow down a website. So sometimes extensions start interfering with the website itself. And so there's things to think about structurally that you might do and cause somebody pain on the other end, and you don't even realize what's happening. And that can, again, lead to negative reviews or shut down your business, or if you're making any money on this, et cetera. So you just think about that. And then the other thing is distribution. A browser extension kind of has to be installed manually. So we'll go through the process of loading an unpacked extension in here when we get the file from Replit. And there's a process of submitting this to the Chrome store or to the browser extension marketplace, just like a mobile app or something like that. You have to submit it. They do a review of that, and then they either approve or reject it. And then you can kind of go back and forth having to figure out how is it that you get this extension approved and actually get it to folks. So that's what a browser extension is. As I was thinking about how to build and what I wanted to build here, I wanted to keep this fairly simple. I have built tools that kind of let me collect bookmarks, and you saw the chat capture app if you watch some of our past streams. And so I've been tinkering with extensions for a while. So if you have questions or thoughts about what we're building, here's the Notion published, the Notion's not published. So if you have any questions or thoughts about what we're building or the extension or anything like that, leave them in the comments, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. Obviously, they're coming in way faster, I think, than we can keep up with right now. But let's see where the agent's at. Continue to build remaining front-end components. Okay, so it's building the front end. One of the things you're going to see the agent do is just build the app first. It's going to build the extension last, right? So by the time we get the extension, the application will kind of be built here. And I think most of the hard work has already happened. And most of the hard work came in when we were filling out these requirements. So let's go back to these MVP requirements and talk through a little bit about how I thought through the process of again, organizing the first prompt that the agent's working on right now. First thing is I said, hey, this thing needs to authenticate, and I need user accounts. Users need to sign up, log in, and see their own bookmarks, right? This is just to make sure that right? I don't want to see somebody else's bookmarks when I come in. I kind of want to manage my own context. Logged out users can see a feed of most recent public bookmarks. So I've added the option here in the prompt to allow some of these bookmarks to be public. Maybe there's a core feed for people to have discovery. And the way I got this prompt, by the way, is going to talk to an LLM, right? I talked to ChatGPT and I kind of explored the concept, and then I came up with this prompt. So a lot of times I will talk to an AI about what I want the other AI to do, and we'll go back and forth and explore that. Sometimes I do that Replit in plan mode when the project's already built. Sometimes I'll do that in Claude, or sometimes I'll do that in ChatGPT, depending on what I'm trying to do. All right, core CRUD applications. CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. This is what most basic web applications do. And so, of course, I need to be able to create a bookmark with URL, notes, and tags. I need to be able to edit the bookmark, bookmarks be public and private, and then basic tag management. There's some requirements for the library UI and UX. Shows the pages of bookmarks, shows across URLs and notes, filter by folders and tags. And actually, I think I removed most of the folders, so let's see what it does there. Simple modern UI, fast interactions, and optimistic UI updates. If you don't know what optimistic UI updates are, this basically says that, hey, when I do something on the front end, I want you to update the front end, even if the database takes a little bit of time to update, so that it feels snappy, so that it feels instant on the front end. And so these are the types of things that you can define and articulate in your prompt that will really take your project to the next level. And you can see there's a lot of clarity here. I didn't just say, hey, build me a bookmark extension, right? Build me a browser extension that lets me collect bookmarks. Like, I've told it specifically, here's what I want this to do. Here's how it should work. Here's some of the things. Ideally shared components across web app and extensions, so saving bookmarks feels seamless across either surface. So I want the experience to feel the same in the web app as I do in the extension, and I want to tell the AI, I want to tell the agent that before we get to it, right? Let's go see. Oh, okay. Your personal web library. So it's ready. All right, so let's see how close it came to the requirements. I just want to finish this real quick. Extension, simple extension folder with all bundled files, complete extension code with a manifest JSON file. Service worker background scripts as needed, the AI, the client module, and then the auth. So I told it specifically, I want the web app to do this, this, and this, and I want the extension to do this, this, and this. I'll let Replit handle the rest, but I kind of just outlined, here's the deliverables, here's the requirements, etc. And probably 3 or 4 months ago, I would not have trusted this agent to like one-shot this whole thing. I probably would have come on this stream and said, hey, let's build the app, and then let's build the extension on top of it. But because of how good the agent has gotten in the last 3, 4, 5 months, just blown away. So what we see now is task 1 is done, build all website features and design. Task 2 is done, create backend features for data storage. And right now it's building the extension. So if we go look at the code, there is an extension folder here. And here's that background JS, that's the background task. And here's the manifest that we talked about, right? And so it's got the name of the extension. Let's zoom in here a little bit. It's got the name of the extension, save and organize bookmarks with market. Okay, that's just a little description it came up with. Here's the icons that I told it to use, right? And so those are for showing up in different places, whether that's the web store, whether that's in the browser, in the tab. Oh, you'll see when we install it, like that little icon will show up in our bar. And then the permissions that I need. And so here we can see the permissions. I've said, hey, let's use the side panel. So again, that it pops out from the side of the page. Active tab, which says, hey, let me understand what's happening in the current tab you're looking at. Storage allows it to access, storage, local storage, so that it can like store sessions and store authentication and kind of like store the things it needs to then send the data back to the database. And then again, tabs to be able to view and see and run through the different tabs that are open. Host permissions, you have to define the types of URLs you want. So you could limit this to only work on one website. For instance, if this is like if we look at our Restream application up here, our extension, you would see that it won't work on other URLs, and so it'll just tell you, hey, this isn't going to work. It'll only work on, let's say, Restream, .io. And so these are all kind of limitations and things. That's that manifest file that we talked about. And you can see now that we have an API file, side panel HTML. So now we've got the UI starting to build in. Let's go into this preview. I'm going to zoom out just a smidge for this here. Maybe. Okay. Your personal web library, start for free. Let's see what it came up with. Discover public bookmark. All right, nice. Got a feed on the front end. So let's open this up in a new tab here, just so we got full screen tab view of the app. And then I'm going to get rid of this little thing and just click get started. This is probably going to ask me to log in with Replit. Yep, let's go ahead and log in. All right. And you could use a different auth if you want. I like the Replit auth. It's super easy. There are reasons why you may or may not want to use it, but it works seamlessly with the agent. It's super easy to use. I don't know why you wouldn't, but I do understand there are reasons why in certain instances you might want to use a different auth. You just have to, again, specify that when you're working with the agent. So I'm just going to put a little bookmark in here. Let's see. All right, title. We won't save any of this tags. No tags. Let's see. Create some tags in the sidebar. So there's no tags yet. So I might want to come and tell this to add the tags here, but I'm just trying to see what did it give me, right? What did it give me here? So it did put the URL in, but it didn't scrape into the Open Graph data. I think we can add that. What I'd like this to do is fetch, the Open Graph data, but we have an application here. I mean, where are we? We're 12:25. So we're, how long ago did we give this thing the prompt? 14 minutes ago, we gave this thing a prompt, and we already have a working web application that allows me to add tags. I just restarted the browser, so maybe the extension's ready. Let's go see. Okay. I can add a tag. Let's see a tag here. Let's add a test tag. All right, there's a tag. This will be, maybe Replit. Oop, not Replot. Can I edit it? Look at it. Even let me rename it. Look at this. So this is what I'm talking about, how good it is, right? Like before, there would have been times where I would have had to come and explain it, like, no, I need to edit this. Like, I need to edit this tag. Or, I might have not done as thorough a job with some of the things. Like, even the filters are applied up here. I can even search, So this is super cool to see. Let's go see. I think we're pretty close to the extension. The app is working. Let me update persistent information and call the architect. All right. Learning moment with the Replit agent, and then I think we get to the comments a little bit. And then we're going to show you the extension. The architect and watching the agent work is super cool. I know a lot of people, and the goal for this is like full autonomy. You listen to Michele or Amjad talk about where Replit is headed, full autonomy, right? But for right now, watching this, especially if you want to learn what's going on with the agent, watching how it's thinking has been so useful for me. Coming through here and reading through, like, what is it doing? I need to move the public bookmarks route before the ID route. Let me edit the file. Okay, that's not super exciting, but maybe there's other things that I do need to understand or that are useful for me to like get better at knowing what's happening, right? And so I can come in here and I can see, hey, this thing created an extension, a README file that explains what the extension's doing. Look, it explains how to install it, the setup, the usage, features, and all this is kind of happening in the background. So if you just ignore the agent or if you don't see this stuff, you're missing a big learning opportunity. If you just want to kind of come in and go full vibe, don't stress, like you can just go and play and like, go for it, like build whatever you want. But if your goal is to like get really good at this and maybe make some money at this or build products that like, are usable in the market and you want to learn and you want to like use your building experience as a learning experience also, I'd really encourage you to go through and, like keep an eye on what's happening inside of here. And like, it makes decisions. It decided on bookmark route authentication. Okay, great. All flow's working, login, and you can just kind of see how it's thinking through. And you learning how it thinks will help you think about how to work better with the agent. And so if you're ever struggling and figuring out like, hey, I can't get what I want out of the agent, well, maybe you're not thinking like the agent as much as you should be or could be, or from a technical standpoint, or you're not thinking about some of the stuff, and going through and seeing how the agent thinks will help you, maybe address some of that. So, all right, this thing's about to spit out this extension. Let's do this real quick. Let's go to this shot here. Manny, let's look at some of these pinned comments. What have I?
I think first one, Raimar, can you talk a little bit about the cost? So you did a previous run, maybe look at the overall cost in tokens for folks.
Let's look at the one that finished a little bit ago, and we can come through and let's see at the bottom, work for 22 minutes, $5.58. Get wrecked.
What, $5 for your own
get wrecked? Like, what are you talking
extension?
About? And yes,
on one shot.
And this is one shot, right? I did the one I did yesterday. Maybe I looked that up, but again, it just did it. Like it just did it, and I'm like, get out of here. So it's trying to test the extension right now. Look at it. Like it's trying to test the actual extension in a new browser tab. Like we talked about before, that's one of the hard parts of like testing an extension is the testing and back and forth. So it'll be interesting to see how it if it loads this, if it's able to actually test it in an outside window. I think it'll be able to test it obviously inside. You can see here, like let's go full screen on this, and it's testing. Like right now you're watching the agent. try to save a bookmark, example.com website. And it's actually walking through. I open the options menu for my bookmark, and now I'm going to click edit. And so this is always super cool to watch. One thing I didn't mention before when you're kind of watching this is like when you watch the architect come in at the end and look at all the different updates and changes and kind of what happened, and you're just like, oh man, this is coordinating so many different things going on the back end. This is some of the stuff that makes Replit really unique.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that they're happy that they're not the only ones having agents talk to one another, and I think we launched a multi agent architecture I think a month ago, and I think there's gonna be more of that in 2026. We're gonna have more and more agents in the same Replit experience, kind of talking to back and forth. You have an architect agent here. You probably gonna have some sort of design agent, and just gonna have like multiple agents with different expertises coming in and talking to one another before you actually have to come in and intervene or fix something. So more of that this year for sure.
Yeah, let's look at this. Running the same build as you go is fantastic. Obviously, the biggest element is that well-structured initial prompt. Yes. What you will discover when you're working with any AI is that the prompt and the context is everything. If you're not getting what you want from AI, it's likely because you're not giving it what it needs. It's like a girlfriend that way, you have to give it everything it needs to deliver what you want from it. And if you're vague, if you're obscure, if you're short, or you might get close, but you might not get to where you actually need to be. And so, yes, that initial prompt is a big piece of this.
Somebody had a comment here around different prompt editing and improvement platforms. I know those were popular about a year ago. For me, I'm just using ChatGPT or Claude to flesh out the requirements, and then at the end of those conversations, taking prompts and dropping them into Replit. We also now have a ChatGPT integration, so you can go into ChatGPT, have a conversation about what you're trying to build, get to that final prompt, and then call Replit from that ChatGPT conversation and kick off the build that way. But curious to hear your thoughts, Rymar. Like, do you feel like these prompt engineering platforms and improvement platforms that are hyper focused on getting to that perfect prompt? Are you using those at all? You think they're still necessary, or how do you what's the tooling that you're using to get to that final prompt that you showed us?
Yeah, I could see there's probably a use for that if you need a little bit of help kind of thinking through some of it. I kind of naturally do, just my mind thinks this way because I've been doing this for years now. And so I don't use any of those. But what I do typically do is I'll open up like an OpenAI or a Claude, window, and I'll just start talking with it. Like I'll often use chat mode, right? Like literally just voice chat because I want to talk to it like I'm talking to somebody. And I explain what I want to build. Hey, I want to build a bookmark manager, and I wanted to do blah blah blah, and I'm trying to do this and this and blah 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 blah. And I just kind of blather for a little while, and then I have it. Hey, take what I just talked about and let's summarize that into a key requirements doc. And what I asked for specifically this last time was a sales/marketing requirements also, which is where some of the use cases come and some of the deliverables. And I saw somebody ask something about, what was the reason for the manifest.json file at the end. That came from the AI, right? So that was just something that I wanted to articulate, like, hey, we need to make sure we use this file. And it's something that's required for the extension. And so, having it in there doesn't hurt anything. It's this file right here, this manifest.json that we actually talked about. So,
and one more thing to mention, at least for me, one thing that I've have found helpful is to focus on the functional requirements that I want from the app. So I want it to do this, and me not having a software development background, I'm a little bit less versed on the actual technical packages and tooling that has to be used, and so I'm focused on functionally what I want the app to do. And then I'll in that conversation with ChatGPT or Claude, I'll ask for it just to specify the functional requirements for that app and leave out the technical details, and with the expectation that the Replit agent will handle those technical details, because sometimes ChatGPT will tell you like, oh, you want to use this package and this language.
Correct.
And I just find that I'd rather let Replit agent handle that, because Replit agent knows what tooling is best for that particular build within Replit. And so just one thing to note that I do is just, I'm just copy pasting a prompt and it's focus on the functional requirements or the things that I want the app to do.
I specifically tell it not to give me any technical guidance when creating the prompt. So when I'm talking to this, I say specifically, all I'm looking for are user requirements and specifications for functionality. I don't want you to suggest technical architecture because I want the Replit agent to make those decisions. And I don't want to influence it, because if you put something in there and the agent's just going to listen to what you say, right? And so it may be better suited to use a different technology that's integrated with how it wants to build and how it knows how to build. And if you tell it some kind of dependency, you could maybe not get this outcome because you've injected something that doesn't need to be there. So that's a really good point, Manny, that sometimes that, those technical things should just be decisions the Replit agent makes. So let me go back to this view. Let's jump back in the weeds for a second because the extension's ready. So I want to go see what we got. Okay, so now I'm going to show, here's the extension file. I'm just going to right click this and I'm going to click download folder. And let's see, where did that put it? All right, hang on one second. I'm going to open up, let's minimize some of this. Okay, I need to open up a new Finder window. Just one second here. Extension, open. Just give me a new Finder window. Oh my goodness. Open a new tab. There we go. All right. Okay, here it is. So here's the extension. Let's go into. Why is this not doing? Sorry, my computer's lagging just a sec. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Let me pull this over. Huh. Something's going on. It's not letting me click in my file manager. There must be something open here that I'm not seeing.
As you're debugging that, I'll just jump in and handle some of these comments that I'm seeing here. Philip says, AI as a girlfriend, learned something new today. Right. The dating advice portion of the show is going to be at the end of the show, Philip. So you're going to stick around for that. Although I don't know how good our advice is going to be.
Don't listen to me about any of that.
Gaio says, talking about multiple agents, would love to be able to have multiple agents in the same app. Example, one that is working on permissions, one that's working on the messaging section. Interesting. So is this agents that would be dealing with the users on top of the app, Giles, or are these agents that are working in terms of helping you build out that app? Be curious to learn more about that.
Yeah. Okay. We're back in business. Let's
Perfect.
Yeah, let's jump back into the game here. Let's see. Do you want to? There we go. All right. Thanks for the cover there. I'm not sure what was going on, but I think I just had too many browser tab or extension tabs open, or whatever these are called. Okay. So here's the zip, right? Here's my file. I download it to the downloads, and I've got it in my code files in my Replit folder here. So literally, I want to walk you through from the beginning what just happened there. All right. So I come over here to extension. I just clicked download folder. That moved it into my downloads file, and then I moved it over here. So this is the zip file that I just downloaded today from the agent, right? I'm going to double click that, and that's going to unzip it, right? And so now I have a folder, right? API.js, background.js, manifest, README, all the docs, all the folders that are right here are now on my computer in this folder, which is exactly what we need to load an extension. So now I'm going to go to Chrome. Right, I'm going to go to my browser. I'm going to go to my extensions window here. All right, and I'm going to go to developer mode. Click that open. And load unpacked. Right, and so what I'm doing here is I'm bypassing the web extension store, and I'm saying I want to use an extension that's on my computer. I don't want to have to go download the extension. This is how you're going to test it. So here's the extension, and I'm going to select it. And what you'll see is now I have an extension here. And if I come up here, I can pin that, and we'll see our little tag here. One thing I didn't do that I need to do is publish this, because if I don't publish it, then there'll be nowhere for the extension to actually send. So let's do this. Let's Mark it. Let's see. It's available. Replit app. We'll make that public and publish. Okay. So that might take it just a second if we want to, this is something, okay, from a troubleshooting standpoint, this is something I've done a number of times when working with extensions. I will make an update to the extension, or I'll ask the agent to do something with the extension, and then I'll go and do what I just did, and I'll update the extension itself. So like, let's say I need to refresh this. Let's say I made some kind of update to this extension, and that process I did, I want to re-update the extension. I re-download this folder, right? So I'm just going to overwrite the folder in my the place that I just saved it, right? So here I would just literally, I come in here, I could do this, I would delete it, right? So I'm going to delete. Let's just do it. I literally would delete the extension. I'd come back over here and I re-download it. So imagine there's changes now, right? So I'm going to download the folder again. It's going to re-download the file. And I just drag that back in here, and I'm going to, hang on a second, extension zip. Drag that back into here. Again, I reopen it. And when I go back to my extensions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh it, right? So I click this little button here, and that's going to refresh the extension. So that's going to get the updates that I want, right? That's going to make sure I get the updates. But if I don't publish the application, none of those updates matter, right? And so this is the point I was getting to, is that sometimes I will make updates to the extension, and the extension won't work, and then I'm getting frustrated. I'm telling the agent, it's not working, and it's my fault because I didn't republish the app, right? And so maybe I made an API change to the extension, but the app hasn't been published, so it doesn't know where to talk to that extension. Okay, so let's do this now. Let's go to market.replit.app, start for free. I'm going to have to reauthorize myself because this is now a published app. Before, I authorized in the development environment, and so I need to reauthorize myself. So I'm going to log in with Replit, and you'll see that bookmark doesn't exist because, again, that's in the development production database, or in the development database, and now we're in production environment, and Replit created a production development data, or a production database for us. And so that bookmark that we tested will not be there. But if I open this up, check what we have here. So as I nav, we have this sidebar, and we have a browser extension. And let's see, sign in with Replit. And maybe it already knew that I was authorized, but I don't know. Maybe it was smart enough to know that we were already authorized. But let's do this. Let me close this and open this back up. And now, remember, this is just from the agent prompt. We have not done anything new to this. So let's just go to a website here. For instance, my site, shameless plug. And let's see. Okay, so right now it's not grabbing the URL automatically. This is not ideal, but let's see. Save settings. Let's see what happened. I don't know. I didn't get any update that a browser was. And this is, again, this is one of those moments where, like, I don't know, is this actually working? There it goes. Okay, now I click this sign in, log in to RMR. Okay, so it's trying to log in somewhere else. It's using the wrong URL to log in. So immediately I have a problem. This is trying to tell me, it's trying to get me to log in to the website I'm actually in, not the Replit auth itself. So now we got to go to the agent and we got to tell it this, okay? I'm having an issue logging in with my browser extension. When I click the sign in with Replit button, it's opening a login link on the URL that I'm currently active on, rather than actually logging me in with the Replit application. We need to make sure that the extension is using the production URL to redirect for the login function. And this could be, again, that it doesn't know what this URL was because this wasn't published. And so maybe it made up, hang on a second here, my whisper didn't take. Where's my whisper flow prompts? There it goes. Copy, paste, okay. And I want to grab this URL again, because I think what happened here is it doesn't have a URL, right? Because I never told it a URL. I didn't say, hey, the URL of the production site's going to be live at this thing. Can you update our production URL to use the attached live URL after the site's been published? So yeah, let's see what this says, because I think probably what happened is it just made up a URL because it didn't have a production URL to use the extension to like handle the authentication. And so it was just trying to add the login in the URL that it was accessing. And so that's why it was trying to like log into my personal website or log into the page I was on. And I think right here, what you're going to see it do, it will update and tell it that it needs to authorize through the session here. Decided on login behavior. I see the issue. The login button opens a new tab with the login URL using Chrome tabs create. However, this, where did you go? Where did you go? Yep. Right. So it's exactly what I assumed. Set production default URL. Okay, instead of opening a new tab with it's somehow. So this is, again, it's just thinking through the process, and it's kind of confirming what my assumption was. And so as you work with the agent, you'll get a little better at thinking through how to troubleshoot some of this stuff. And so again, we're going to have to do exactly what I said before. I'm going to wait for it to finish, right? So checkpoint made just now, and you'll see over in the UI, those were green before. These files on the left were green. They're no longer green. This means it's saved and it's been updated and the checkpoint has been made. If there are live changes, like if I were to go in here and let's do something manually. Let's say I want this to be 1.0.1, right? So I made a change here. If I save that, what you're going to see is, it didn't. Okay. I thought I'd get my little green dot here, but maybe it happened too fast. Oh, there it is. Okay. So you see how this turned yellow here? So this is basically telling me I have an unsaved change, right? And so what you'll want to do is come to Git, version control, and you'll see that I've made a change to this app. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a manual commit. So this checkpoint the agent made is basically a Git commit. It stores, it's a snapshot of where the code was. And Replit even grabbed a snapshot of the database at this point in time. But you can create those manually. And you probably do want to create those manually when you make any changes. So I'm going to put update version number here and just stage those changes. And now you'll see that, again, the links are back to their regular color. And so those are just visual cues in the interface. A lot of you may not have this file structure open while you're working, but when I'm working with extensions and making quick changes like that, I do want to then kind of keep an eye on that. So again, I'm going to download the file. I'm going to see where that goes into my downloads folder. I'm going to come back into where I have this saved, and I'm going to delete my working extension. And from my downloads folder, I'm going to grab that zip file, bring it over, extract it. So now again, I have the unzipped file. I'm going to go back in here to my extensions, and I'm going to refresh that. And what you'll see is now my version number has that updated 1.0.1. And so, this is, again, how you can change or update or manage your versioning so you know which version of the extension you're using. So now let's try this again, actually. Let's try this again. Let's open this extension again. There we go. Sign in with Replit, and it's not doing it. RIP. This could be, hang on, let me just try this again. Extension, refresh. Sign in with Replit. It's still trying to go, which means, let me just do something here. I'm going to remove this, even though I do know it is the right one, and I'm going to load this again. And I wonder if extension select. Okay, pin. Okay. We did get something different this time. And I think this might be, did I go to the wrong? Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. It did add something here. Let me just try to save something. Let me just try to save one and see what happens. Because I think we might be a little confused somewhere in the UI here. Extensions, test, notes, tags, test, create test. Let's make it public, save the bookmark. Bookmark saved. Okay, let's see. Now we come back here, refresh, booyah. We've got an extension. We've got it. We've got action, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, here's our link that takes us to the site that we just created. I'm not sure this is linking out. Okay, that's okay. That's an easy fix that we can just get it to, it's because maybe it didn't have a URL because it's on the Chrome extension. So what happened here is because I opened the extension on this Chrome extensions page, it captured this URL, not the rymar.com. So now we got a working extension, right? Now we've got something that's sending in, now we can start troubleshooting, because what I actually wanted this thing to do is to update. When I switch tabs, it needed to update, and it needs to know that I'm on rymar.com. So let's do this. Let's go over here. and we're going to give this a new prompt. Let's actually start a new chat. And here we're going to start the feature revision process, and then we're going to jump into the chat. So I'm going to send this prompt. We have a working extension now that's talking to the application. What are we at? 50 minutes here. So let's just send this final prompt here or this prompt, and then we'll go into the comments real quick. Okay, the extension is now working. I was able to authorize and send a bookmark. However, the extension does not update when I end up on a new tab. Can we make sure that the extension refreshes in the background as a new tab is accessed, so that when the bookmark is sent, it sends the current bookmark from the tab that I'm on? Now, this is a creative decision. Maybe you don't want it to do that, right? Maybe you want to have a button here that refreshes the page, because maybe you wanted to like be on this page and you're thinking about something, and then you wanted to jump over here and still save this bookmark. So what I'm telling this to do now is just a creative decision that I'm making. You may decide you want this bookmark extension to work another way, right? And so we could think about that. Let's do that. Let's just go into the comments here. Manny, maybe some good stuff has been coming in to just discuss, but let's have it do this, and then let's just send it, and then let's chat a little bit with the folks.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, there's questions around cost. Yes. So we talked about cost. That initial build was $5, and then the follow-on prompts, we can check that out. A couple of thoughts here. One, I think for me and Reimar that have been building different applications for some time, $100, $500, $1,000 on a custom build like this, really, like, historically speaking, is pretty trivial. Like, if you're going out and you're trying to hire a freelancing team, I don't know. Like, I would expect to spend $3,000 for an initial build.
Forget
maybe
about
like
$3,000. No, you're
more than that, right?
You couldn't even get started. Okay. I dare you. Go call a development shop and take this thing that we're going to give you at the end of this project and ask them how much it would cost to build. They won't even, like, most shops that are credible won't talk to you, that are going to build something like this in a way that you want it to work, are not going to talk to you for less than $10, $20, $50,000, right?
Exactly.
If you want to go to a Fiverr or freelancer, or if you want to go to a some other place and get a freelancer to do it, or some other, you could maybe find someone who would attempt to do this for a couple $1,000, especially a couple years ago. Now you'll probably find a lot of people that will attempt to do it with Vibe Code.
And even that, you'd have to put together the job requirement. You'd have to post it on the freelancing website. You have to get the bids. You have to figure out which ones are legit, not scams and not bots. Then you got to talk to like 5 different folks. Then you have to approve one of them. Then they may send you something that's junk, and you have to go to someone else. Like, there's a lot of time as well that you're investing in that. So that's number one. Is we're a year into vibe coding. The fact that you can do this for under $5,000 to me is like a bargain.
Bro, under $10. What do we get? Like, you could probably go do this with your free plan. Like, literally what we did today, you could probably get done with the new free plan in Replit.
That is another great point. The free plan launched a couple weeks ago before we went on break. That's a new freemium plan that gives you daily refreshing credits. So that's a good place to start. And for Ryan's point here is that you could probably get this going on the free plan. And the cool thing about that is that if you run out of credits on a particular day, you just come back in 24 hours and you pick it up again. And there's a lot of stuff that you get with the free plan. So I definitely suggest you checking that out.
Yeah.
Number 2 tip that I would give folks is that vibe coding is, I think there's still a skill to it. There's still something to learn. Like Reimar spent a lot of time up front getting his first prompt hammered down, and he got a really good prompt to kick off Replit Agent with, but he also probably learned about the things that he wanted and what he didn't want. And so all of that upfront work is going to help Reimar build this app very, very efficiently. So my guess is what's happening is that people are coming to vibe coding for the first time, and they don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to really specify what they want to Replit Agent. And so they're being inefficient about the build. So you might come up, with some like just generic prompt, and you drop it into Replit Agent. Then you're like you're hacking and you're in build mode and you're having Replit Agent build all these things. when, maybe you should be spending some more time upfront, really thinking clearly about what you want and what you don't want. And then also, once you get into Replit Agent, thinking about all the different toggles that you have in Replit Agent. So for example, the plan mode. So if you're building out a new feature, it's going to be much more cost efficient for you to spend some time in plan mode, talking to Replit Agent, getting the line, and like having Replit Agent know specifically what you want, and then going to build the thing. It's kind of like if you hire a carpenter to build something, you don't want the carpenter to just go build something and then to come back like, hey, is this what you wanted? Like, no, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so he's got to tear down everything down and build it again. Is this what you wanted? No, not exactly. It's much better to sit down with your architect and your carpenter and say like, here's what I want, here's what I need, here's a plan, specifically what I need. Okay, now go build it. And so I think that analogy holds true when you're building with Replit Agent. There's also different toggles that you can use in Replit Agent, even when you're trying to build. So we have different levels of intelligence. Maybe it's a really quick change that you want to make to the UI. Okay, do the object selector, change the text yourself. It's going to cost you pennies. Maybe it's a really fast change. Select the fast mode and have the fast mode change it. It's going to be much faster and much cheaper. Maybe you don't need a ton of autonomy. Go into the autonomy settings, and Reimer, maybe we can show this, but go to low autonomy or go to medium autonomy and change different things. Maybe you don't want you don't need Replit agents to do the full app testing workflow for whatever reason. Like either, it's just not appropriate in that particular case. Turn that off. And so I think what's happening is folks are coming to this and they're not appreciating those aspects of vibe coding and building with AI, and that's why they're getting some of those heftier bills. But again, relative to a year ago, anything anything less than $5,000 is a screaming bargain. And two, there are different techniques that you can learn and pick up and skills that will help you build more efficiently with AI.
Yeah, I think that's it. And this is not to set any false expectations, right? Getting this for 10, 15 bucks is one thing. Where the money and the time and the effort comes is figuring out how to then enhance it and maybe add the AI integration. Maybe we want this thing to start scraping the page. Maybe we want this to do something with the content in the background, right? Like here I can add tags, notes, whatever, but I don't, maybe I wanted to grab the open graph image. Let's do that. Let's do this. Can we add the functionality to grab the open graph image for the URL if it's available, and also display that in the browser extension as well as in the application when the bookmarks are displayed? Let's see.
And
can we add?
As that's working, Raimar, there's another quick question here. Like, what if you disagree with what Replit Agent suggests or what it built? No problems. There's automatic rollbacks. So if Replit Agent, if in the plan mode, if you disagree with what Replit Agent is recommending, just tell it something different. Like, no, I actually want this. Perfect. If you've actually built something, or Replit has built something for you, then just roll back to the previous instance. So yeah, for me, it's a kind of a control Z, like an undo type of option that I really love about Replit. Just kind of roll back to the previous checkpoint.
For sure. You shouldn't be scared to try new things or test stuff, because you can always roll back. You can always refresh. Learning Git, like I know I kind of breezed over making that manual commit earlier, but learning Git, connecting this to GitHub, learning how to take snapshots and back things up and then restore or revert back to certain places is maybe that's something we should cover in a stream at some point as well. But I wanted to answer this question too. Is it more cost effective to tell Replit Agent all the specifications at the very beginning, or add one feature at a time? It can depend on how complex the application is, right? With this extension, I knew it's fairly structured, and I was like, let's send it all. What I might do in other instances is I might tell it what I want the information architecture or the structure to look like, and then say, hey, we're going to build this in pieces. And we might have built, like a chunk at a time, and then had it kind of continue on top of that. Even like I said, a few months ago, I probably would have tried to build a bookmark tool managing bookmarks and then built a second extension for it to try not to like overload the agent. But it's getting so good at handling that stuff that I don't know if it's more cost effective to like dump all of your stuff in line, but you definitely want to give it as much context as necessary to do the task you're looking for in that moment. And so that's really the caveat, is like, how much do you want to try to get done? And then it's like, hey, how much autonomy are you going to give it to do that work? Or I think that also comes like you start learning how much you can kind of give it at a time. And so the only way to test that is to experiment and to try. And again, you can roll back or, try it again.
Yeah, I think for me, I usually sit down and I think about like 3 or 5 big features that I want an app to have, and I like to start off my builds with some context, and then that first initial feature, the big one that's gonna the 50% of the value for that particular app, and have Replit build that, and then kind of go and stagger into the other builds. I think in many cases Replit could probably one shot like a 5 feature build, but I don't know. I'm also managing my own motivation as well. And so when I see that initial feature come on, come online, like that AI feature that I really want, I just get like really interested, and it helps me stay in the build as well. Because as you're seeing with Rymar, like there's like you also like have to stay on this for like an hour sometimes, debugging things. So I think it's just extra motivation for me to stay with the build if I am seeing continual progress. And it's like for me, it's like checkpoints of my own. Like, okay, cool, I got this new feature. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Now add to this. And then I've also found that the features that I want to add change over time. So like say I build feature number 2 and I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, like I think it would be much better if it did this rather than this other thing. So it gives me a little bit of flexibility to also change the plan as I go, as I'm interacting with Replit agent. So another kind of take on that.
Yeah. Oh, haha. Oh boy. Enter URL. So this, and I think we saw it in the, where is it? Somebody said skills issue in here. Where is it? You highlighted it, I think, man. You said something about like, I think it was a user error. So when I was struggling to get this thing to log in, the app is supposed to go here. So it had told me, hey, I need to know where to know to log in. And I hadn't put that in and save the settings. I thought this was like asking me for the bookmark. So again, and somebody in the stream caught it. So by the way, I don't know who that was. If we have that comment, it's highlighted somewhere in there. I think I can't find it, but anyway, that's funny that it was a total error on my end. So the agent actually had it right. I just didn't put the right URL, and then I asked it to hard code it in, which is probably not the right move. Like I actually maybe I screwed things up and made things more difficult because now I have a hard coded URL, whereas this would be useful if I wanted to, like, let's say, test on the development environment using the same extension. So, like, again, sometimes you think you're outsmarting the agent, or you think you're trying to like accomplish something, and then you realize like, oh no. And I might have caught that if I wasn't streaming, because when I'm streaming, I'm kind of like locked in and like you're thinking about a lot of things. Yeah. But anyway, good catch, whoever that was in the comments that saw that. All right, so real quick, what just happened here? I need to republish this because if you noticed before, it changed something in the routes file. So I'm going to republish the site. And then I'm also going to re-download the extension. So I'm going to download this. I'm going to open that download folder. And what you'll see here is the extension is getting a little bit bigger, right? 8 kilobytes, 8 kilobytes, 8.5, 9.1 kilobytes. That's still pretty small. But again, you can kind of see how the extension grows over time. And you want to be cognizant of what you're adding in there and how bloated the file is getting or what you're doing. So let's bring the new extension over. One thing I didn't do here is I did not update the version number. A lot of times, once I get into a certain point of playing with this extension, I will make sure that I regularly update this version number so that I know when I hit this refresh button, especially if I made like a major feature update or if I change something functionally, that I want to make sure I know that I have the right extension installed, and that's just a really quick, easy way to do that. So again, if you don't remember when we were in here, if you go into the manifest file, which we've explained through the stream, the version number's here, so you can just manually update that, and then when you refresh and upload the new extension, you'll see that take place here. So let's see if this has published. It's still finishing that publishing process, and we're going to check to see if our Open Graph images are now being grabbed when we bookmark a URL. What should we do? Hey, in the comments, let us know. We've got a little bit of time left. Like what should we try to add to this? I'd love to like throw something complicated at us. Like let's just, suggest some features. Also, if you check in the pinned comments of the YouTube chat, there's a link to that what should we build next link, this Replit live build, livebuild.replit.app. You can suggest not just things to build, so submit idea. You can submit an idea there. But if you're in an idea, you can suggest a feature, right? And then every day you get 5 votes. Oh, look at this. People are voting. Love it. Okay, so every day as you're logged in, you get votes. And I could maybe look. Again, I can go see the Kanban and see what people are. Okay, there are some suggestions here. Some of you are just spamming. Thank you. We appreciate that. But yeah, you can suggest features. So let us know. What should we add to this as we go through? It's published now. I'm going to go check. Let's open the extension. Wow, there's an image. There's the open graph image. Let's see, Replit. Let's go to the design mode. Let's open a new. Oh, does it grab the open graph? What happened? Hang on. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Let's close this and open it again. Let's see. Let's make sure. There it is. Okay. Okay. So for some reason, the extension is not always refreshing the image. So it's grabbing the image on load, but when I switch page, it then doesn't grab. Okay. So there we go. That's another thing we need to address in the extension, is that it needs to refresh the open graph image when it pulls in. Okay, this is working great in the extension. I can see that it's grabbing the image. However, the image needs to update along with the rest of the page details when I switch tabs. Right now, the image is not updating with the rest of the extension. And I'm going to do this in the same chat because it's got the same context of what I am trying to do here. So typically how I think about that is if I am adding a new feature and it's unrelated to what I was working on previously, I will start a new chat. If I am working on something that is a continuation of something that I was like working on here, so again, the open graph image, I want the chat to maintain the context from that previous task to go into the next task, right? And so think of it almost like wiping the whiteboard from a creative session, right? If you're hanging out with some friends and you're collaborating in a conference room and you're working on the whiteboard, great, no problem. You come back after lunch, you want the same whiteboard, right? Because you want to remember what you were talking about. But the next day, when you move on to the next session, you want to like clean that whiteboard off and you want to start off with a fresh canvas. That's kind of like the chats here. And so sometimes you want the context from the old conversation. Sometimes you want to start fresh. And again, using that is a very useful way to make sure that you're getting the most out of the agent. All right, so
hey Rybar,
go ahead.
if there's a good comment here, like somebody saying that this session is way too technical for them as a visual artist, totally get that. And I'll just provide a little bit of context for you. Like Replit under the hood is very, very powerful. You could do some amazing things with it and build out some very complex applications with it. We have people that are building their startups on Replit, and so you can do a lot of things with Replit. But we're also making it super easy for you to get started, even as a non-technical person. In fact, a big chunk of our user base and growing user base are people that have no technical background that are building very first time. And so these, I think, what we're trying to do in some ways with these sessions as well is show the full range of what you can build with Replit. This is, I think, a little bit more on the intermediate, complicated side. So you have to be a little bit more detailed in terms of the prompt that you're starting off with, the where you're going into the code and different parts of the build. But there's other instances where like that's not the case. If I was building a simple website or a widget, then that's sort of just one prompt, go into Replit agent and put in what you are looking for, and in 30 minutes get what you want. And so if this feels a little bit tech heavy, I think that's totally fair. Just know that there are, appreciate there are different types of technical levels at which you can build within Replit. I don't know, Rymar, anything to add to that?
I would just say that don't be scared of technical, right? Like technical is just uncomfortable because you don't understand it. And to say like I'm a designer that's not technical in this world, I don't know what that means, because design is going to start involving everything, right? Like everything is design, everything is code. And so I would encourage you that if you feel that way, that's not to say, hey, you shouldn't feel that way. It's to say that if you feel that way, you should probably start pushing on the edges of that comfort zone, right? And Replit's such a good way to do that, to say, hey, I'm not a technical person. I'm a designer. That's okay, cool. You can talk to this thing just like you would talk to anybody else, and it will do the technical stuff for you. You don't really have to like, I like explaining and showing and kind of digging into this stuff, because I think a lot of people who are building with this want to get a little bit more technical. But again, if you're going pure vibe code, you could just talk to this thing. I think you take bites of technical as much as you want, right? And so again, what we learned today is that the more you think through this process and the more context you give and the more quote unquote technical you want to give with how you're articulating this or working with it, the better the output. But that doesn't mean that you can't get good output without those things. And I think it's like anything else you want to learn. That's like saying I want to learn like the violin, but I don't know how to like, do the things. Like, well, yeah, the things is playing the violin, right? So like you either want to learn how to do the things or you don't want to learn how to play the violin. And so that's kind of the space. And we're entering into the world where like the more, again, you get on technical and the more you can get good at wrangling some of these tools, the better you're going to be able to like do your job as a designer or as a developer or as a video producer, like anything, right? I think just finding ways to bring some of this stuff into your workflow is just super powerful. And I would just encourage you, like those are just things that you feel uncomfortable with because you just don't know them. And so like the more you learn, the less uncomfortable you'll feel with that stuff.
That's a great point, Raimar. And we've been talking about the fact that the divide between technical and non-technical is going away. And that means that if you're non-technical, you get to build, but it also means that you probably have to learn stuff that you weren't expected to learn previously to get the most out of vibe coding tools. I think also likewise, if you're a technical person, now building is so straightforward that maybe you need to start learning the marketing stuff, the selling stuff that you weren't expected to know, or the design stuff that you weren't expected to know previously. So there's just kind of this blurring of the lines between non-technical and technical work. And I would say also suggest that you use Replit Agent as your tutor of sorts. Like many times, like I'll ask Replit, like, can you explain this to me in simple terms? Like, what is this? What's the difference between these two different packages? Why did you use this package? Or why did you go with this setup? Or can you explain to me the file structure of this particular project? What do I need to be looking at? So, as you have agent build things out for you, also have agent explain it to you so that you do build that technical aptitude that's going to make it easier for you to build the next more complicated thing.
Yeah.
Because there are levels to this, right? Like, you could get very, very complicated, very, very technical. And as you progress towards those different levels, that foundation is going to help you build those things.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that Replit is getting very good at like the design stuff. And for instance, this past weekend, I took a outline for a pitch / presentation that I'm working on. And instead of going into, like I had the content figured out, and instead of going into like Figma or Google Slides or something to try to figure it out, I just gave it to the agent and I told it, build me a presentation. And I can't share because it's an internal presentation, but I'm going to make it a template that we will share. And at some point we should show you how to make a presentation inside of here using design mode. But boy, what I got from that, like I will never use Google Slides again. I'll never use like any kind of PowerPoint, Google Slides, like maybe even Figma for slides. Like I might go create an asset and dump it in the background. But what I got from this thing as a design element for a presentation was so interactive, so beautiful. Maybe we can find this, Manny, but recently there was like a marketing video that was made in Replit Agent that there was like a case study shared about how to make literally like a stop motion, not a motion, but an animated video in the designer. So I think the agent is going to get so good at all of these things that you should, again, just press against the skills of the agent, press against your comfort zone, and just try to see what you can figure out, because this is not just going to be for writing code in the near future. This code and building software is one thing, but everything around you is code, right? Everything that you interact with on a screen is code, and you're going to want to tinker with that. I already know if you're a designer, if you're a creator, like this is how the no code movement started. This is why like everyone's kind of got into like all of this in the first place. Is like the opportunity here is massive. Don't limit yourself because of some mental constraint that you've given yourself. These tools are going to continue to evolve.
For when we launched the new fast mode, so makes better changes, cheaper changes for you. The launch video, the hype video that we released for that was vibe coded in Replit, and it looked amazing. It looked professional. I couldn't believe that it was vibe coded. I was like, no way. Somebody asked me like, hey, did we vibe code this? I was like, there's no way we vibe coded this. And yeah, in our Slack channel, we're like, yeah, I vibe coded this. Here is a prompt. And it got like 1 million like impressions. It was bonkers. Yeah, I'll try to find the link to that tweet and
if
drop
you
it
want
in
to
here.
if you want to see us do a presentation, go to the site. It's in the pinned in the YouTube chat. You can suggest builds, like, like if a bunch of you suggest that, we build a presentation or a deck or something like that, we'll do it. I see some questions about that. I also, I see some questions about the extension. So let's get back into, let's see if we can just button up a little bit of the build here, because it was having problems with that image, and I want to see if that got sorted. And then I see people asking for things like AI integrations and other things. So maybe we can try one last hero update with, let's just get this over here with something interesting here in a second. Okay, that's open. Let's refresh it. And again, remember what we're looking for here is, for some reason, as I switch tabs, there it is. Boom. Okay, now let's go back to brand hit. There it is. Okay, it's I still didn't. It's trying, but it's something's going on here. So I might need to fight with this. And actually, let's take a look. Inspect. Let's take a look at the console. Failed to load resource. It's getting a 400. Okay, so it's getting some kind of error when it's trying to grab the image, failing to load the data. So this is where you would need to troubleshoot. I know this gets a little, oh, there it is. Maybe it's just taking a second, right? Maybe I'm just being too impatient, and it's just taking, but it's grabbing the restream image. All right, so it's definitely getting confused somewhere in the back end. This is something I would have to sit and troubleshoot for a minute. I see some people asking things like, can we, let's see, add, where is some of the AI ones? Let's see. It's more effective to tell. Where is it? I saw it. I literally just saw this a second ago. Okay. Can you try summarizing the page? Can you use Replit OpenAI integration to pass the page data to the API and send you back a summary for your app? Yes, we could do that. And you see it's defaulting back to some other. Oh, I have this in another tab. Maybe that's why when I keep switching over here, it's grabbing this. I wondered why it kept grabbing the restream.io URL. Okay, so it's working. It's grabbing the URL. Replit team, that might actually be something on our end that we need to think about. Replit. Let's see. Let's try that again. Replit blog. Are we gonna find there? There it is. Oh, it was trying. There it is. Okay, so it is working. It did figure it out. It has updated this thing now. Okay, so do we want to grab AI? Could we grab the page? I don't know. Let's try it. Right? Let's literally just. Okay, the extension's working great. I would like to add functionality using our OpenAI connector that allows it to pull in the content from the website and give me a summary and analysis of the web page when I save the bookmark. So I want the extension to grab the main page content. You might want to use some kind of reader view or markdown extractor, best practices library for grabbing the content of a website and feeding it to an OpenAI integration when the bookmark is saved, so that when I go into my bookmarks, there is a simple summary of what the page that I saved is about, and maybe we automatically create the tags that go along with it. Maybe I gave it too much right there. Maybe the little tags at the end is going to be too much, but let's put this thing in high autonomy mode and just send it and see what happens, okay? And you can see, going back to the design thing, like, or the non-technical thing, like, that's not a very super technical thing. I'm like, hey, I know we have OpenAI integration, and maybe this isn't going to work, right? But one thing I did know there is that to think about is that you need to kind of extract the copy or the content from a website. So if I
Okay, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. I'm seeing that Rymar has jumped off the screen, so give me a moment. And we'll have Rymar come back on stage. Technical difficulties here. Hey, Reimer, welcome back.
Yo, this thing is sometimes.
No worries. As you're getting started, I just wanted to mention one thing. So that prompt that Reimer just dropped into, it should be calling our new OpenAI integration,
And it just did it right here. It's asking me to confirm it right here.
Awesome.
Yep. No need to use an API, no nothing. It's just going to do it.
Yeah, we released this a month ago or so, and I think it's an amazing integration. So previously, what you would have to do is you'd have to go to OpenAI, Anthropic, or Google and set up an account there, put in your credit card, get an API key, come back here, configure it. That's no longer the case. This will automatically connect to those model providers and just pass on the direct billing, whatever they have listed for their LLM consumption, just pass that on to your Replit build. No additional markup, which is great, but also just the convenience factor. So I don't need to go and and then the big providers like Anthropic, OpenAI, but then also open routers. So if you're interested in using open source models or some obscure new model that has something to do with something that it does something very interesting or very niche, you can use the open router option as well. So I just think this is one of my favorite new features as of late.
Yeah. And this is again, I think this is actually going to work right off the rip. So let's look at what happened here. It's playing the AI integration strategy. So it's basically summarizing what I want. So it took my prompt and it said, hey, let's add a little structure to this, okay? So maybe, again, this is an indication of if my prompt looked a little more like this to start, maybe it does a better job. But the agent's smart enough to figure this out, okay? So it's gonna search for the integration. So now it's thinking, hey, look, it found an OpenAI integration. It's gonna decide on any schema changes or things it needs to make to extract that. And so I'll add AI powered. So then it comes with the results of what it's thinking. I'll add AI powered content extraction and summarization to your bookmark extension. This will use Mozilla's readability library. This is the thing that I was talking about before that I knew a little bit about. Hey, you got to extract the content from the page because otherwise you don't want the AI summarizing all the ads and all the junk and all the other stuff that you might find on the bookmark page. You want it to try to do the best job it can at finding the content on the page that's usable for you. And so Mozilla has a readability library. I don't know if you've ever seen the reader view in the browser. They have a library that uses that. And so this is going to implement that along with the AI powered content summarization using what Manny was talking about, which is basically that one click. You saw us click that authorize the AI OpenAI integration. And so it installs those packages, again, doing the technical work for us, created a checkpoint. And then once I authorize the OpenAI, because basically it's saying, hey, you're going to charge me if this thing starts using functionality. And yeah, it's starting to do work. And so let's see. Now let me update the extension files to capture page content and call the analyze endpoint. And so it's doing the work now. Let's see. So now we just got to wait for this thing to spit out a new version. I'm going to have to publish the app because we can see that we have updates to things in the server. So we don't just need to update the extension this time. You can see all these files are yellow. These the server and the back end will need to be published again to make sure it's all in sync.
Rima, as we're waiting for that, I think something to call out in terms of what I'm seeing in the chat, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Reimar, but to use a Chrome extension, you don't have to publish it to the Chrome store.
No.
What Reimar is doing here is it's all locally based, and he's updating it to his local Chrome instance. And when he updates files on his local machine, it automatically updates the functionality within Chrome.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to share this with others, if you wanted to turn this into a product or to a service that other people can use, that's when you'll have to have it listed on the Chrome store. And there's probably a number of different requirements that you have to go through for that. But in the instances where I've used custom Chrome extensions, I haven't had to publish it on the Chrome store because it's all been for me. Now, the cool thing you can do is you can build something for yourself, and if you test it long enough, you're like, oh, this is amazing for me. It might be amazing for others, and you can turn it into a product. But to get started with this, I don't think you have to list it in the Chrome store.
No, and you don't even have to list it in the Chrome store if you want to build a business around it. You could, just like you download this file, I could have a download link right here that always just serves the most recent extension file, and people can download and install it manually, just like I did.
Great point.
And so it's not the most efficient way, because what happens is then you can't pass updates and you can't that's no easy way for the user to manage it. And so maybe I, make a bunch of updates and the person has it manually installed and they're never going to get those updates. And then they get mad at me because things break and they don't have the new version. So the reason you want to use the Chrome store is for obviously distribution and to manage the updates, the update path. But that also creates, like Manny was saying, other hurdles because now you have to think about the approval process. You have to come up with some assets. One of the things I did here is created, some real simple thumbnails for this app, and then the icons. I just grabbed like a little bookmark icon and a little plus button, and so these are some of the assets that you would need to create to then create your listing in the Chrome store. And it's fairly easy. You just go to Chrome, you create a developer account, and you submit the same file that we go here to this extension. And we're in developer mode, and I use the load unpacked extensions. The same way that that same file that we upload here, I just send it to Chrome, and Chrome will review it and then publish and update it. So yeah, and it's not too crazy. The first time I started dabbling with like my own browser extension was to download a Space on X, and I now have something like 7,000 people with a Chrome extension. If you Google download Twitter Spaces, it's like one of the most popular tools for downloading Twitter Spaces on all the internet. And again, it's an app that I manage in Replit and a backend. And I'm thinking now about how do I monetize this thing? There's 7,000 people using this extension. Hundreds of people every day are downloading Twitter Spaces, X Spaces with this extension. And yeah, again, I would encourage anyone to just try it. It's not that crazy to do something, to publish something like that.
Rymar, we've had some really good comments in the chat around the whole like getting comfortable with being more technical. And then, you're showing your design skills. And so like, I think you're a great example of this where like you're both technical and non-technical, like traditionally speaking, like you're doing these designs, but you're also jumping into the code. I think that's what's going to be expected for all of us. And there have been people that have started on their vibe coding journey that I think have started from that non-technical point. And, if you read the comments here, it's like, hey, like you got to lean into that. Like, I know it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you're gonna grow, you're gonna get better. Here is design glitching. I was scared of something, and then later on it's like something that they're doing automatically. They're so much more comfortable with this. Again, design glitching every 6 months. I'm using what I was scared of prior. And I think that's totally the case, man. Like something that scares you a little bit now, you're gonna find that it's actually not that scary. You just don't know the language or the verbiage.
Yep.
And previously, it was very hard to learn these skills because you had to go to a book. Like you had to go look for that specific thing, and what you were looking for wasn't there. It was kind of super challenging. But now that you have AI, ask AI to teach that to you. And like here's someone saying like, "That's me, techie version, LOL."
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't. If you want to be successful going into this next phase of creatorverse, right? Like Replit's vision is like the next billion digital creators. Like they want to empower those folks. If you want to be on the front edge of this, right? Which I think you are because you're watching the stream and you've literally just sat here for an hour and a half watching us nerd out building a browser extension for saving bookmarks. So you're obviously interested in thinking about how to like advance your career or use these skills in some kind of way or learn new stuff to kind of like be on the front edge of this wave that is the future that's coming. What Manny said is super important. This idea of like, I'm a designer, I'm a developer, I'm a this, no. We are going to be builders. And the more articulate you can be about what you want to build or how that should be built, and knowing the tool that's going to help you do that is going to mean you'll be a better builder or a better creator. Now, some of us will focus on building tools people interact with or things people watch or photos people engage with or whatever the thing you're creating is, right? But I think the line between designer and developer and videographer and those are going to start being blurred more and more and more as we go. And so that's just something to also keep in mind. And I want to show.
And before we jump into that, one more thing to add to that: we're all builders now, and as somebody mentioned here, Jayesh, love building in Replit, but the hard part is driving traffic. So I think, like if you look at, I think this was Naval, he said something to the effect of like, if you can be you can builder, awesome, you're going to win. If you can be a seller, awesome, you're going to win. But where you want to be is to be both a builder and a seller, and you want to be able
Yes.
to do both. And Replit is making it super easy for you to be a builder. And now I think the next stage, Rymar, is going to be like, how do you sell? How do you distribute what you're building? And that's going to be like the next hard part, is actually getting people to buy the thing that you're building. So
Yeah.
I think that's where we're all moving towards, is a person that is both a builder and a seller. Right now, we're focused on the building. You got to build something that's great, that's reliable, that's safe, that's secure, that actually provides value to people. Okay, and that's historically hard. We're making it super easy here at Replit. Next stage is like, how do you build up those sales and marketing skills, those distribution channels, and actually get it on people's radar, and actually get people using it and paying for it, or you're using it and like adding value to them.
Distribution is the only thing that matters anymore, which is why community and being a media company, in addition to being a creator and a builder, is like a necessity. Because if you like you just saw, not only can I build this thing in an hour and a half, and let's see, but we're going to make this clonable, which means now you could literally just take this and run with it, and build a business on this. And so like, maybe you're good at distribution. You could, we showed you the other day how to put payments on stuff. So maybe you're going to take this and put payments on it, and you start a whole business off of this bookmark tool, right? The difference is there's millions of bookmarking tools. So how do you get yours to stand out? And that is the problem that we're facing today, is in a world where anyone can build anything, how do you get people to pay attention to the thing you build? And that's probably for another stream. You will see us tap into that, because that's a big part of like my background and thought process. But yeah, that's a good point. And getting back to the not technical, but the publishing side of this, I clicked the publish button and it tried to publish. And a new thing that happens here is that there are changes in the database that were detected. All right. And so what this is saying is, hey, you've made some structural change to the data architecture of this application. Are you sure you want to publish this? Right? Because this could break your data model in the production site. And if people are using that and you've removed something that's important to users, this is just another moment that it's saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And so yes, generated migrations, okay, database migration validated successfully. So this has said, hey, if you go ahead with this, we can do that. If I want, I could click this button and it will create a preview for me to go look at that. And basically it's a standalone deployment that I can then go check to make sure that the changes that I made don't break anything. It's going to duplicate my production database. It's going to basically create a whole new staging environment for me to go look and make sure this is what I want. We're not going to test that right now. I'm just going to hit the approve and publish. But I wanted to like point out that there is this workflow in here when you're publishing now, that if you make changes to the database before you make the next publish, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to do this? And then you're going to want to make sure you verify that. And why that happened is because we told it we want it to create an AI summary. And if we want an AI summary, then we need somewhere in the database to save that information. And so it had to go back into the architecture. And I bet if we looked at this here, it will show you that add summary space to bookmarks, create service and get summary. So these are the tasks. Inside of here, in one of these tasks, it changed the database and created those changes so that we can save that AI summary. And now what we're going to do is we're going to test and see if this actually worked once this thing publishes.
As you're doing that, Rymar, I saw a question here around, for AI-powered extension, how do you protect API key from being hacked, abused? This is a nice thing about building with Replit Agent. It's building in those safeguards from the very beginning. So on the Replit Agent, on the file structure, you'll see the difference between the server side and the front end side. And those code, that's separated, so that somebody comes onto your front end, they can't go into your server and check out your API keys. This is also the nice thing about using the OpenAI integration, is that that key is automatically logged as a secret. You don't even see it, so it's going to be hard for people to hack that. And then secondly, I would also recommend that you do a security scan. Maybe you can zoom in there or just point at it, Rymar. But something that I always like to do before I deploy is the security scan here. Yeah, click that. It's free to use. And this will go through your entire code base and spot any potential vulnerabilities. So here you see like a couple of different vulnerabilities that have been highlighted. And then for each one of these, you can go and fix it with agents. So you're working with AI to fix AI. So for each one of these, you'll kind of click on it. I'd say, 50% of the time, it's maybe a false positive. It's agent text does an additional thorough check on it, and finds that there isn't like a real vulnerability there, and you don't change anything. But 50% of the time, you do find a major issue, and you can fix it before you go live. So just wanted to call that out, and for you to use too.
Oh, yep. Yeah. And for sure, you can get into trouble using that security thing sometimes. If you just tell it to start fixing all these things, maybe some of those aren't actually problems. So there are things that it will present as potential vulnerabilities that are not always problems. But again, this is why getting good at like rolling back and understanding and thinking through, because some of those things might be necessary. They are security vulnerabilities, but that doesn't mean they're wrong, right? And so this is, again, one of those, it's a gray area into like getting more and more technical, because you might want to just trust the agent, but the agent might be a little too overzealous in protecting the thing it created. And so like you might want to discuss it instead of, this is what I do sometimes, instead of just taking that security scan and just saying fix with agent, what I will do is I will take what it says. I might take this outside of Replit now, right? I might go to Claude Code, or I might go to OpenAI, and I might feed it this stuff and ask it, what is the vulnerability here? What am I really opening myself up to? And then I'll determine, is this something that I should fix? And I won't always just click fix with agent, because sometimes that passes a lazy prompt, honestly, to the agent. I might create a different prompt to say, hey, we have this vulnerability. And before, remember, I've told you that like sometimes I'll say, hey, don't write any code. Let's just talk about this. So instead of telling it to fix it in build mode, I might tell it to investigate this and let me understand, is this something we need to fix? Is this a real vulnerability? Same thing with the original question about how do I make sure my API keys aren't exposed? You could just ask the agent, hey, am I leaking my API keys here, right? Does this browser extension leak my authentication or my, and so like, don't forget that you can just talk to this thing. You don't have to have it, you like actually make changes and do some of those things for you. So again, just a way I approach some of that. Let's test this, because I can see now we have analysis unavailable. We have a blog article here from Replit. So let's just say test AI. Oh, and I'm not even going to add a tag because I told it to create tags for me. So let's see what happens. And it did save the bookmark. Let's go back to the app. We'll refresh. Okay, test AI. Open. That opens the link here. Analysis unavailable. And I have no way of knowing, like, I didn't give it any like back end. So let's go look at the database. This is a good way to test. Look at the production database. We'll look at bookmarks. And we'll come in here and we're looking at what I'm looking at. So we have an ID for each, the owner of the bookmark. That's interesting that it would be a different owner for each bookmark. So that's maybe something to look into. Here's the bookmark itself. The title, description, image, notes, is public, saved from, AI summary. So all the AI summaries are null. This may be something that's running in the background. So maybe it didn't analyze it. Okay, let me ask it. Hey, I just saved a bookmark and I see the database changes take place, but I'm not seeing any actual summary in the database. Are we sure we're processing the bookmarks and grabbing the content? I don't see anywhere in the database where we're passing the actual page content or storing the page content. How are we processing this, and how can we verify that the AI is actually ingesting the right information and spitting out a summary for the saved bookmarks? And so again, I'm just talking to this like I would to a developer or somebody who's I'm working with. Like, this is the thing I've been dreaming about for years. For most of my creative career, building and doing digital stuff, because I started as a designer. For those who are out there who are like, oh, I'm non-technical. Like, I started as a designer. I'm a design school dropout, got lost in the world of sales, and then kind of hacked his way into like tech world by starting to build websites. And then that led to more and more and more technical stuff. So the path is there for anyone. That's why sometimes I'll, like argue back a little bit about like, you can't do that. So when I'm talking to this, and the thing I've wanted for like that whole time is basically a developer that I can sit over their shoulder and just be like, just try this, move it over here, do that. And, like try, now throw that all away. Let's start over. But almost no developer ever in the whole world is going to let you do that, right? Nobody cares about your project. Even if you paid them like a lot of money, like if you paid, some of the most developers are the worst about this. Like if you pay them even a bunch of money and you tell them to do stuff, they're still going to kind of do what they want to do because they know like the technical thing of what they need to do to like deliver the goods. And so almost no developer is just going to sit there and let you yell at them and tell them like, no, not that, try this, do this. Okay, erase that. And we spend 6 hours and then we throw it away and we start over. But Replit will for dollars on an hour, like $10 an hour, $12 an hour. You can, like do this stuff. And so like, this is just something that if you've been a designer or blocked by code throughout your career, is one of those things that you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this tool is real. And that's why it's like sometimes when people complain about the cost, it's like, yes, we understand that there is a cost associated with this. But when you compare it against that brick wall that you've been beating your head against for your entire career, trying to build things in code, and now that wall is just gone, well, like the cost starts to become trivial when you see it that way. Okay, I found the issue. The bookmark in your database shows saved from web, meaning it was saved through the web interface, not the extension. AI summary null, no summary was generated. Here's how the current flow works. Okay, so maybe I wasn't clear. Let's check the logs. I see the issue. Looking at the logs, I noticed the bookmark shows saved from web, which means it was saved through the web interface, not the extension. Currently, the AI analysis only works through the Chrome extension. The extension captures the full HTML. Okay, so it has a problem because I definitely saved it from the extension. So the extension captures the full HTML content of the page you're viewing. It sends that to the server for AI analysis. The summary is included when saving. Web interface can't do this because it only has the URL. It can't access the page content. Okay, this is interesting because the bookmark that I sent in came from the browser extension. So there might be something where the browser extension is registering as web-based bookmarks, and we need to make sure, oh, that's not true at all, you ding-dong. Because it doesn't have access to the development database is the problem. So it doesn't know that, okay, let me do one thing here. Let me get the development URL. I'm gonna open this up. And I think maybe I'm gonna blow this because we didn't get the, because I updated how the URL works in the extension. But let me go to these settings and let me see if I can test this.
As you're doing that, Raimar, there has been a couple of questions in the chat around design. It seems like there's like a lot of interest in design. One question is around building with Figma. Yes, we have an MCP connection with Figma that allows you to work with, to start off a build with a Figma design. So check that out. That's going to be in the integrations tab in Replit. Or you could just call it from the prompt. Other folks are talking about presentations, a lot of interest in terms of building out presentations in Replit and comparing it to some other tools that are out there that do just presentations, and whether or not Replit would be better for presentations over some standalone tools that are out there. I say you just got to try it out. Like, take maybe something you built previously and try to build it in Replit and see what it looks like. And I think, there's no substitute for just trying out your own custom builds in Replit and seeing what it can do. I'm oftentimes surprised. Like there's certain things that I think like are just going to be too hard for Replit agent to build, and I'm just blown away. Like the launch video that we pushed a couple weeks back, I was like, there's no way this was vibe coded. So you'll be surprised if it doesn't do it now. Come back in 2 weeks and it may do it then. I also will mention that if you're doing something with design, presentations, things like that, or even like the launch video example, be sure to start off in the design mode tab. So you first land on Replit, you have two options: build mode versus design mode. The second tab is design mode, and that's the best way to kick off some of these builds. Someone also asked if they can add UI mockups to Replit agent. Absolutely. I oftentimes do that where I'll add different screenshots, different mockups, and just drop it all in there. Sometimes I just drop a whole bunch of images in there and say like, here, make sure you reference these images, and Replit agent will definitely take those into account, both on the initial build and also as you build. I encourage you to take advantage of that and just drop in any images that you want there as well.
Yeah. Something happened here. Something is going on with the application after this most recent update, which is stopping the page from loading. That being said, the extension is sending, it's connected to the production database. So it's sending to the production database. How can we make sure that all, I don't know how to do, I don't, oh, okay. I'm going to ask it too much if let me just do one thing. Let me do one up and hang on, it's loading now. I wonder what's going on here. I want to just see if this bookmark actually came in from the extension now that I have it connected to the, it did. Testing from the extension to dev. Okay. Okay. The page seems to be taking a long time to load now. I've sent a new bookmark in from the extension. Can you check to see what happened with the AI process there? Okay. So again, when things like that happen, I just ask it, hey, take a look. What's going on here? And so what I want to do now is I'm going to go to this page, and it is trying. It's trying to analyze the content, but it should already have been there. So maybe it's not showing me. Let me go back into that database and just see, did it add, oh, I'm in the production. Let's go to the data, the development database, because that's where I just sent the bookmark. Bookmarks. Let's see, created at AI summary. So there's still no AI summary. The logs show payload too large, error request entity too large. The page HTML is too big for the default express body limit. Okay. Web pages are often much larger. Let me fix this by increasing the body size limit. Okay. So something is happening in there where it's restricting the content that's being sent in because of size limits. And so this is the stuff you run into when you try to do, again, it was pretty ambitious for us to think like, I don't know when it was that we were just going to drop the AI, okay, 27 minutes ago. So again, hasn't been that much time. I bet we could get this working. If y'all are interested in hanging out, we can, go to the top of the hour here and just spend the next 10 or 15 minutes trying to get this figured out. And this is how it goes. Like, this is literally it. And this is where the cost can come in. This is where things can get frustrating. This is where, like learning how to troubleshoot and figure out where things are going and, what things are doing and how to like maybe add console logging. So you can basically tell it, hey, I want you to log what's happening in the process so that we can troubleshoot. And so when there's an error, it will log, where the error was, and then you can have it look at the logs and see what part is failing and stuff. And so maybe in future episodes, we can get into some of this deeper, troubleshooting and stuff, but this is where you make the money. And I want to figure this, out actually, before we go. So,
I think it's a good point, Raimar. I mean, somebody mentioned here that you don't have to be technical anymore. The main skill set is creativity. Learning to vibe is a new skill set now. And I would say, yes, creativity is important, but also, I guess the way I would classify it is almost like agency, or like the ability to stick with something for even if it's kind of new to you, and figure out how to like solve the problems as they come along. Like Reimar is doing here, like he's gonna go look, do some research on the web, and maybe like chat with another LLM, and then chat within Replit agent. And so the idea is that you get stick with it until you solve a particular problem, and then you kind of move on to the next level. So, I think this is why, we wanted to do these live builds, because kind of show you behind the scenes what actually happens when you're building one of these types of applications, especially if you're a non-technical person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, like with a lot of things in this day and age, it's about, your agency, how, what's your stick to it, what's your resourcefulness, can you go figure out how to find the right answer or the answer that you actually want. Like Manny was saying, like figuring those things out and getting those things, like learning how to get the answer you want is more important right now, because like the thing can just do the stuff for you, right? Like the AIs can go do these things for you and do a lot of the thinking and a lot of the technical stuff for you. You just have to learn how to, like orchestrate these things and, talk with them, et cetera. I love the new publishing sound. I don't think y'all could hear that, but I just heard in the back end that the app finished publishing. So, and I just refreshed the extension. So let's test AI workflow again, and let's save it. Okay. It's thinking, it's doing something. Bookmark saved. All right. Let's go here. Go to the preview. Refresh to see, first of all, if the bookmark came in. Let's see. And it is taking a long time to load. So I would probably spend some time as the next step. And that started as of this most recent edit. So something is happening here. Oh, 5 megabytes. Like if it's sending that much data, like no wonder it could be having a hard time loading all of this stuff. So somewhere in here, we've injected something that's slowing down the loading of the app significantly. The application is taking forever to load. Can you see what might be happening to slow down the page load process or the application actually loading. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go, you can always just skip and go straight to the source, right? So here's the database again. And what I'm looking for is, oh, at least we got a message that says unable to generate summary this time. So it could be happening that this is going on in the background. AI analysis is failing. Returns unable to generate summary. This means OpenAI call is failing silently. Slow response. Each analyze can take 4 to 6 seconds. Okay, so it's just, it's starting to assess this. And it has mistaken my slow response, my slow loading, to mean slow analysis. Oh, at least we're seeing progress here. So we are seeing places in the UI where it should be creating a summary for us. So things have worked, things are working. And this is the process. If you talk to any software developer, literally talk to anybody who's learning, who has been coding for a year, or somebody who's been coding for 20 years. This is the game. This is how it works, right? You try stuff, you put some code down, you do some things, you test it, you're like, oh no, part of it works, part of it doesn't. How do I fix the parts that don't? Okay, we got to try this. We got to do this. All right, let me check this thing. And so whether you're technical or not, whether you're using vibe code or you're writing the code all to yourself, the real problem, the real challenge here with all of this is just what you were talking about before, Manny, is that stick to it. It's that, can I be here working with this? Do I have the patience to not be frustrated, to not just, oh my God, you're so stupid. Why are you? And sometimes I do that. Like, I will curse this agent out. Don't get it wrong. Like, sometimes I'm like, you stupid, but that doesn't help, right? Like, me getting angry doesn't actually, solve the problem. Sometimes there's been reports that, talking negatively to an AI will make it work harder because it's trying to please you and it thinks you're unhappy. But really, again, going back to problem solving is it. It's like the thing. And so as you can see, we're making slow progress. I see a place where the AI should be. Okay, we got not a result yet. I've added debug logging and switched to GPT 4.0 mini. So now it's going to try a different, maybe we got to try a different model. Maybe we're passing too much context. Like, there's a ton of stuff that, again, might, be creating some of this problems. And now I need to republish this to try it again. Okay. Anything coming in while this publishes? Anything?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Yes, rollbacks. I believe those are free of charge. Rymar, correct me if I'm wrong, but
the rollback is free, but what it doesn't erase the cost that you spent during the process of building. So if we let's say we rolled back right now, I wouldn't get a credit, from the costs. I wouldn't get these charges back. So let's say I come up here and I say, you know what, this AI stuff really screwed things up. I got to reassess how I want to do this. I'm going to roll back to this point, right? Maybe I want to take a different approach. Oh, look at this. Bye, y'all. Just so you know, here's our AI summary.
There it is. Zoom in. Can you zoom in on that?
Yeah.
Mars?
Yep. Oh, it's not going to zoom in on the extension.
Oh, okay.
Dang.
No worries.
So, yeah, I mean,
there it is.
I'm just saying, and it created the tags, just so you know. And not only that, but it created them in a way that it knows that these are AI generated. Look how they're outlined. And I have not yet selected which tags I want it to use, right? And so, yeah, this did it. Let's take it over here. Let's take it to the Replit blog and see what happens. And this is happening before I save the bookmark. So this is actually happening in the, it's happening right now. There it goes. This page discusses how Replit is implementing automated database migration to separate development. Yes, boom. Software development databases, Replit. Look at this. I mean, this is cool, y'all. We're 2 hours in here.
Somebody put in, this is an authentic Replit experience. This is an authentic vibe coding.
This is it. This is what this is it. This is what I've been wanting to get to. Just so you know, this is the thing. I would love to sit here for hours a day just doing this, because I think we could build really cool stuff. And I think this is the place where people, this is where the magic happens. Sure, the bookmark thing was cool, but troubleshooting this and figuring things out and actually getting this to work now is I'm going to censor my, holy shit, what? This is this, and you get this crazy dopamine. Forget about the dopamine you get from doom scrolling. Unlocking this after beating your head against it for half an hour. But what did it take? Let's go back. Let's go back to this thing. Let's look. 35 minutes ago, we threw a crazy Hail Mary prompt at this thing. You know? Like, and here it is, doing the thing. And it's live, it's public, it's published, it literally just published. It's working. Like, let me do this. Let me change this back to the actual production app. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Grab this. Okay, save these changes to the production app. Let's do that. Come back here. Oh, it's going to ask me to sign back in. All right, no big deal. That's probably because I republished and it's now connected to a different database. So I'm going to go back to this blog. Let's find a new blog because we already know it, figured that one out. So let's just grab this one. What happened? All right, it's thinking. It's doing its thing. Boom. That happened pretty quick. And let's save this. AI save. First time. And then let's see, we'll put self-testing, software testing. Okay, it didn't come back with a Replit tag, but no big deal. We'll make this one public, save it. Saved. Go to the database or go to that live app. Let's refresh. Booyaka. There it is. And from here, we could decide, hey, how do we want this to update automatically when we get a new, I don't want to have to refresh this every time. I want the page to upload automatically. Okay, well, you could tell it to do that. Hey, listen to the database, and when the database gets a new bookmark, send it in here and update my front end automatically. Wouldn't be hard to do. Maybe I want this looking differently. This is where I could go into Figma or TL Draw or something, and maybe I mock up, something I want. Or maybe I go to a news website that I like, and I'm like, hey, make this look like this. And I just grab some screenshots, send it to the agent. I say, hey, can we update our page to do X, Y, Z? I do that all the time. I might grab a screenshot in here. I might come over to TL Draw, or something like that. Just an easy whiteboard tool. And you can see all the time, like I do this all the time. I just grab parts of UI and I just drop things in here and I say, hey, what about this? And then I'll grab that screenshot. So maybe, I'm going to drop this screenshot and let's say I want to, I don't know if I need that, but I don't even know if I need to tell it because maybe I want these all to be the same height or something. So again, now you can just start. Now it's a game. Now we're in business. Like this is working. Everything's running. Like at the end, you guys can come and remix this and have at it. Like this is live and ready to go. This is just beyond me that we got this far, honestly, on the stream.
Switching us over to this view, Rymar. I really love this build. For me, like this, I've been reading this book over the break. It's called Building a Second Brain. I'm wondering if anybody else has picked this up. But one of the key concepts here is that you want to separate note capture from organizing and then processing. But the first step is you have to capture the things that interest you in the moment. And, it's kind of hard to do that on the web, different X posts, different YouTube videos, different blog posts, different news announcements. And I'm going to fork this and I'm going to use that for that function where like, if I see something, I'll grab it right away and have it saved to an inbox and then process it later. So I think perfect build for the start of the year, at least for me, Rymar. Thank you.
Yeah. And this is something like I have extensions that do this. I've been dreaming about second brains and context. And like, if you know anything about my past, like if you were to go and dig into my past, you would see that I have built a number of tools that try to do some of this stuff at some point in the background, because like I'm always thinking and seeing stuff. And I'm like, actually one of the first things that went viral of mine is a bookmarks manager that I built that talks to the X algorithm. And literally that was one of the first things that just went super viral. And I was like, because it was like a, oh my God moment in the middle of the night where I'm like, this works. Like I got it working. It's summarizing my tweets. It's looking context, tying it together, bookmarks, in folders. I'm like, what the heck actually just happened here? And then I had this knowledge graph that I could explore visually. And so, yeah, we're entering a phase where, like the tools you need are really just at your fingertips. And if it doesn't exist, you can build a connection, you can build an integration, you could make it just do what you need it to do. And I could connect this to Notion if I wanted to. So instead of having this be in my database here, maybe I want to just send this to Notion and I want to skip everything. Maybe I want to add reminders to this and I want to tell it, hey, I want to connect this to my Google Calendar and remind me a year from now about this post. Like there's all sorts of things that you could just start now adding to this with one shot, 20 minutes at a time, 30 minutes at a time, $5 here, $10 here. And next thing you know, 6 months later, you got a tool that's just doing half your job for you. And that's the paradigm that I think people don't see coming. It's not that I'm going to go replace Airtable or go replace Obsidian as like a note-taking app or a bookmarking tool. It's that as I build these things into my workflow, I'm going to build something that's so custom and unique to me that it just, and maybe if there's revenue tied to that, if there's a Stripe link tied to that, like there's so much that you can then just start doing with this. And so I really just can't overstate the potential here with this type of tool and the moment that we're in creatively.
And then there are 2 levels after that. I think first level is build something that you find valuable, something of interest to you,
Yes.
especially if you're new to vibe coding, because you also want to stay in the game. You saw the hurdles that came up on Rymar, and if you're building something that you're not interested in, you're just not going to stay with it. So, that pain point that you really have or that interest that you really have, start there and build there. And then what you might want to do is start sharing it with other people on your team. So somebody asked in the comment, like, hey, how do I get people on my team on board with vibe coding? Very easy answer there is build something that solves a pain point for the team and share it with everybody. They will get it right away. And they're like, whoa, George, you're not a programmer. How did you do this? I vibe coded with this tool named Replit. Go check it out. They're going to thank you for it. And so that's like number 2 is like build something for your team that you find valuable. Great way to stand out in any role. And I personally think that in a year's time, vibe coding is going to be mandatory for everybody. And then number 3 is start thinking about how you might share it with others. So if you have a problem, chances are, as niche as it is, that there's some group of meaningful people out there that also have that same problem, and you can help them with it. And it's going to be valuable for them. So think about how you might share that. And then, after that, think about how you might charge for it. We spent a lot of time talking about our Stripe integration. I think this whole concept of cost goes away when you're making money with your app. Somebody dropped in here that they spent like $4,000,
$2,400, and they're made 20 grand already here.
Thank you. Yes. So I think, if the problem of cost is really a problem of ROI. If you're building something that's valuable and you're able to generate $20,000 with that application, if you spend $2,000, $5,000, it doesn't matter. You're making it up, in terms of the revenue side. So I think, if you're worried about cost, you got to be thinking about, okay, how do I increase the value that this is providing for folks, and how might I charge for it and start monetizing it? And again, we have a Stripe connector that is amazing that you have to go and check out. I think that you should just start playing around with that. And even if you don't intend to sell something, still try to think about how you might monetize it, set up the accounts you have to set up, the Stripe accounts, all that stuff. Just start thinking about how you're going to be monetizing these different apps and start building the foundation for that.
Yeah. There's so much. Sorry, I'm just skimming through the highlighted comments that we have here. And I wish we could answer all of them. Honestly, I wish we could answer all of them. This is one that I want to address, though. My main problem is that if you cross a certain threshold of X amount of prompts, the AI becomes not stable, the app starts to break, and you keep fighting to recover. This can happen, especially if you've been sloppy at every step. The more sloppy you get, the more convoluted the files are, the harder the AI is going to have kind of figuring out where to go. This is, again, the context. And so what you want to do is you want to try to create modular and kind of componentized elements, right? So atomic elements. So like when you're working on something here, you're just impacting this thing, that's not also impacting 20 other things that you're not aware of it impacting. And so, yeah, for sure, you can overload the AI. This is a real problem, especially if you're just like, do more, add features, do stuff, give me all the goodies. That's why what I like to do when I'm building stuff functionally like this is build something, get it to a place where it actually works, use it for a little bit, and then figure out what I need, rather than just like adding all these features on top that I don't know that I actually need yet. And so, yeah, for sure, there's managing the AI context and keeping it going is like a big challenge.
And one tactical tip that I don't think people use enough is starting a new conversation. So I like to do one feature, one conversation. So roll that out, get that done, and then I start a new, fresh conversation. I feel like that clears out the context of what I was building previously and keeps the AI on track for that one thing that I want to be building next. And then I also like to do a fair amount of testing before I move on to a new feature and a new conversation, just to make sure that everything is like, working well, that I'm not missing any bugs that are going to pop up later and I'm going to get confused about. So just one tactic that I wanted to throw out there.
Yep.
Very neat.
Man.
Somebody asked about Friday. We have some news. We do have a live stream scheduled for Friday. We're keeping it on the hush right now, but I think that you're really gonna like what you're gonna see later on this week from the Replit team. So stay tuned. Some big news coming out later on this week, and we will be here on Friday to talk about that as well. So more to come. 2026 is just getting started, but and we're so eager to build, and we're so eager to start helping you build things.
Yeah, super. I just realized that when I turned off developer mode, it deactivated the restream comment capture extension. So I just realizing that we might have missed some of the comments in our system. So we'll have to go and see what happened and see if we can recapture all that. But again, this is so exciting to be like thinking about. Sorry, I just got distracted. This stream there. Just so excited to see the moment we're in. Honestly, if you're out there, start tinkering with the stuff, especially now at the free plan. Play a little bit. Like if you got an idea, just go start tinkering, go start building, go start pushing the limits of this. Watch the stream back from the beginning if you started halfway through. Like just find that resilience and find the thing that kind of motivates you, right? Going back to like the learning to play instrument analogy. If you want to like learn an instrument and you like have a song that you really like, it's going to be way easier to learn the instrument than if you're just kind of like forced to learn, like Hot Cross Buns or, Mary Had a Little Lamb or whatever song like the instructor wants you to learn, right? So sometimes you have to learn the basics, but then figuring out the thing you actually want to build is what's going to give you the momentum to like struggle through, beat your head against the agent a little bit, maybe roll back some stuff, try different approaches. Like that's all stuff that, is like, again, finding something that's meaningful to you, impactful for you, like Manny was saying, is tying it back into your like workflow or, once you save yourself an hour's worth of work, after like, even if you spent 20 hours getting to the point where you could save yourself an hour's worth of work every week, now you're saving an hour's worth of work every week. Right. And so how much is that worth? And then could you save an hour every day? Could you save 10 minutes every hour? And so like, once you start stacking those gains and you start like having these things kind of running, then you start thinking like, oh, what else could I do? And and then once you put a Stripe payment link on that, then it's game on. So yeah, I think that's good. We've we're well over. I think this is probably the longest stream we've done. Hopefully you all enjoyed the live build process. Please let us know in the comments in the chats. We would love to just know what we maybe got wrong, what we could do better next time, what you really liked, and go back to the pinned comment and let us know what you'd like to see us build in future chats for sure. That's all I got.
Thank you, everybody. Amazing chat. Really appreciate all the feedback, all the questions. And again, we scrape all these comments. And even if we didn't get back to you on a particular request, just know that I'm probably going to pass that on to our engineers and say like, hey, like, for example, people were asking about voice mode, like, hey, like 10 people asked about this. So even if you didn't get a response from me in the comments, we're checking it out and we're getting better every week, every day. And we're going to have some more news for you later on this week. Thursday and Friday, be on the lookout for some updates from the Replit team.
Great. Right on. All right. Bye, everyone. Appreciate you. It's been great. And catch you next time.